Hey guys, this is Dr. Sangeeta from Dental Pathshala, where we help you understand and learn dentistry better and easy way. So till now we have covered when the bacteria enters our body. So there is a war going on between the bacteria and our body. So our body is releasing the cells in order to kill the bacteria, and while killing the bacteria, our body the cells destroy our body also. So there is a harmful effect on our body as well. So there is a formation of the pocket because these inflammatory cells go into the gingival connective tissue and they destroy the collagen fibers also. While they are destroying the collagen fibers, so there is a formation of the pocket, which is the pathological deepening of the sulcus, and we can measure this pocket with the help of a periodontal probe, which I have already shown you in the previous video. So it can be either a William probe, UNC 15 probe, or a WHO probe. So once we measure, because there are gradients, there are marking in the periodontal probe, so we can just put it inside the depth of the pocket and we can see how deep it is. Because it has markings, we just need to count those markings. So every millimeter they have marking. In the Williams probe, if we talk about, so only 4 and 6 marking is missing. So that is how we know the pocket depth. And once we calculate the pocket depth, if it is too deep, suppose if the pocket is a pseudo pocket, then we have to go for pseudo pocket. That means there is a gingival inflammation. That means we are going to cut all of the extra gingiva. So we are either going to do the gingivectomy or the gingivoplasty procedure. But if it is a true pocket, now if the pocket is a shallow pocket, then we can also treat it with the SRP, the scaling and the root planning procedure. And if it is a deep pocket, suppose if it is deeper than 5 millimeter, then because our scalers cannot go deep inside, so we have to just remove the flap. So removing the soft tissue and going deep inside where there is a necrotic tissue, where there is an inflamed tissue, and we just remove the flap, we remove the soft tissue and go till depth of the base of the pocket. And once we reach the base of the pocket, we just clean all of the surface, all of the root surface, we remove all of the necrotic tissue. So this is known as the flap surgical procedure. So this procedure wherein we are just removing the soft tissue and cleaning all of the necrotic or the inflamed tissues is known as periodontal flap surgery. And today's video we are going to talk about the periodontal flap surgery. So let's get started. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon. That way you get a notification as soon as I release a video lecture. And if you enjoy watching our videos, then please share it with your friends. So before starting with the specific periodontal flap surgery of today's topic, let's just discuss few incisions and the horizontal and the vertical incisions. So before starting with a specific flap, we should be familiarized with what kind of incisions are there. So the most common incisions we'll be talking about. So the first one is the curettage incision. Now curettage incision is the incision which we use in the gingival curettage. Now this is the incision which is used to remove the pocket. So this incision is actually placed and the lateral wall of the pocket lining is removed with the help of this incision. Next one is the external bevel incision. External bevel incision, as the name suggests, I have been telling you, curettage means removing, we are curating. So in the ENAP surgery, in the ENAP surgery, we have discussed about the curettage incision. So external bevel incision is the incision which is given externally. So we are giving a bevel going externally. So like that, we are giving this incision. So external bevel incision would be an incision which is given externally. So like this. So this is an incision which is given externally. Now this incision is used in gingivectomy procedure. Another one we have is the internal bevel incision. In internal bevel incision, see, there is a close relationship. These are two similar kind of incisions. One is the internal bevel incision and another one is the clavicular incision. Let's just understand the clavicular incision first. So clavicular incision or the sulcular incision is the incision which is given from the gingival sulcus. So this one is our marginal gingiva, right? So we are going inside the marginal gingiva, we are going inside the gingival sulcus and we are going towards the bone. Now this kind of incision we also use in the modified Widman flap. Now this one is our crevicular incision. So we are going inside the gingival crevice and we are going up to the apex of the crest of the bone. So also in the internal bevel incision we are going up to the crest of the bone, but we are going 0.5 to 2 millimeters away from the marginal gingiva. So this is our marginal gingiva. So we are going from 0.5 to 2 millimeters, from 0.5 to 2 millimeters. Now internal bevel incision, we will talk about the three kind of incisions, that also we'll discuss. So internal bevel incision, for 0.5 millimeter we have another, for 1 millimeter we have another, for 1 to 2 millimeters we have another. So if you are not understanding right now, just hold on, you will understand. So 0.5 millimeter to 2 millimeters. So somewhere from here to here we are going to put the internal bevel incision towards the crest of the bone, which is directed toward the crest of the bone. Now also we use this kind of incision in the modified Widman flap. So we are going from the 0.5 to 2 millimeters away from the marginal gingiva and up to the crest of the bone. So this is the difference between the crevicular and the interdental incision. Also we have the partial thickness, in which we have already discussed these kind of incisions in the previous video. So we have horizontal incisions and we have vertical incision. Now horizontal incision is when it is given horizontally. See, this is the long axis of the tooth, right? So this is the crown structure. So long axis of the tooth, if we are going perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth, then it is the horizontal incision. And if we are going parallel to the long axis of the tooth, then it will be our vertical incision. Or also we can say the releasing incisions, which also we will talk about. So coming about the horizontal incision or the full thickness flap involves the periosteum layer. So the first one is the, why I have numbered these horizontal incision is because if we are remembering in the sequence, this is the sequence of the modified Widman flap. So this is the first one is the internal bevel incision. As we have talked about internal bevel incision, we are going 0.5 to 2 millimeters, right? But for modified Widman flap, for the internal or reverse bevel incision, we will be going almost 1 millimeter away from the gingival margin and up to the crest of the bone. So this is the gingival margin. So we are going like this. So this is our internal bevel incision. This removes the pocket lining, yet it conserves the outer gingiva. So the next one is the circular or the crevicular incision. The circular or the crevicular incision is the incision from which we are going from the sulcus and up to the crest of the bone, right? So this is our circular incision. Now that we have incised here and we have incised here, right? We have two incisions. So this is separated. So this is separated and also this is separated, right? So we are going to remove this part of the interdental bone with the help of a kind of a vertical incision. So we are giving one interdental incision like that, or interproximal incision. So this is not exactly a vertical, this is a kind of an oblique incision, and we are removing this part. So this is how we are removing the epithelial lining, the pocket lining, the lateral wall of the pocket, and removing all of the inflamed or the infected tissue. Now this is the interdental or the interproximal incision. So this is the sequence of the modified Widman flap. Also we will cover the modified Widman flap in detail. So this involves 3 steps. So this is the internal bevel incision. So for the first or the internal bevel incision, for 3 flap surgeries, we have 3 internal bevel incisions differently, which are close to the marginal gingiva. So we have talked about from 0.5 to 2 millimeters, right? So we are going to now grade it, classify it. So the first one is the modified Widman flap. Modified Widman flap, we have already talked about modified Widman flap. It is 1 to 2 millimeters, right, away from the gingival margin. So this is the marginal gingiva. So this is 1 to 2 millimeters away from the gingival margin will be our modified Widman flap. The second one is the apically displaced flap. When we are talking about the apically displaced flap, now we will talk about the apically displaced flap in detail. So we are going 0.5 to 1 millimeters for the apically displaced flap. Also apically displaced flap, we can do it in 2 ways. Now it can be either the partial thickness or the fully thickness flap. So partial thickness or split thickness flap is used for the increase in the width of the attached gingiva, and the fully thickness flap or the mucoperiosteal flap is used for our flap procedures. So talking about the apically placed flap, apically displaced flap, we use it for 0.5 to 1 millimeter, which is the closest to the tooth. This is from the away from the gingival margin. Now the last one is, our third one is the undisplaced flap. So all these flaps, the first incision is the internal bevel incision. So internal bevel incision also we have different areas for all these flap surgery. So the last one is the undisplaced flap. For undisplaced flap, with the help of a pocket marker, now these are a kind of pocket marker, a kind of tooth, like this tooth forceps. So these pocket marker are going to we are going to the depth of the pocket and we are going to punch the gingiva. So there will be a bleeding point. Suppose if the bleeding point comes here, so we are going from here and up to the crest of the gingival margin, like that, up to the crest of the bone we are going. So this is our undisplaced flap. So for all of these three flap procedure, the first incision or the internal bevel incision varies. For modified Whitman flap, it is 1 to 2 millimeters away from the tooth, and for apically displaced flap it is 0.5 to 1 millimeter away, and for undisplaced flap we are taking from the bottom of the pocket. So like that we have the first incision or the internal bevel incision. That was the horizontal incision. Coming to the vertical incision, so this is the long axis of the tooth and we are going parallel to the long axis of the tooth is the vertical incision. So these are placed at the line angle of the tooth. We have already covered in the flap designs that we cannot give at the mid of the interdental papilla, nor do we can give at the midpoint of our the tooth surface. So this is incorrect. We cannot do like this because either it is going to make the black triangle or it will do the recession because it is going to retract. So the in vertical incision we are going to prepare at the line angles. So either we are going to make at the here line angle, this line angle, or we are going to make at the this line angle in order to prevent the splitting of the papilla and this vertical incision. Because see there is a kind of an envelope flap. So envelope flap is like that. We are going the crevicular incision we have given. So the crevicular incision with the crevices we have given this incision. And while you are giving this vertical incision, then and only then you can open up this flap. So after you give this incision, the flap is going to open like this, right? So there will be a prominence. You can see the roots if you are giving the full thickness flap. So like that you are giving the vertical incision is actually a kind of a releasing incision because it relieves. So suppose see you are giving a circular incision like this, right? So while you are giving this circular incision, now you cannot release this until and unless you are giving a vertical incision. Now that I have given a vertical incision here and also a vertical incision here. Now that I have given a vertical incision here, now you can open up this flap, right? So this is how you can open up. So this is the releasing incision which releases the tissue. So this will be our releasing incision. So the envelope incision, if you are not giving any vertical incision, so if you are not giving any vertical incision like this, only you are giving a horizontal incision, a crevicular either you are giving, so this will become like an envelope. See, this is becoming like an envelope. So you are removing all of the necrotic tissues from inside like this. You are doing curettage. So that also this will be a kind of like an envelope. So this is a envelope flap. So in a modified flap operation or the Kirkland flap, you are giving an envelope flap. And after that you are there is debridement of the root, your root surface you are cleaning and removing the pocket of the epithelial lining. So like that you are using in the Kirkland flap. So the envelope flap, there is no vertical incision. Can you see there is no vertical incision? There is a flap which is formed. So if you are giving one vertical incision, then it will be a triangular flap. And if you are giving two vertical incision, then it will become a trapezoidal flap. And now you can understand the today's flap surgery because now you are familiar with all the incisions. So guys, talking about the apically repositioned flap which was given by Friedman in 1962, and this flap basically the first incision or the initial or internal bevel incision is given 0.5 to 1 millimeter away from the tooth surface. So we are giving 0.5 to 2 millimeter away from the tooth surface. So first incision is given like this, and then releasing incision or the vertical incision is given. Now we have two case scenario. One is the partial thickness flap, which is this one. So there is still some of the periosteum which is intact. The another one is we are giving an incision and a full thickness flap. Now a full thickness flap is given and two vertical or releasing incisions are given. So this is the full thickness flap. So this is our full thickness flap, like this, the full thickness flap. So we have two kind of incisions. So if we want to eliminate the pocket, that if we want to eliminate the pocket, then we will give this full thickness flap and we will just curettage and remove this inner pocket wall lining and remove all of the tissue, do the curettage after giving the releasing incision. If we want to increase the width of attached gingiva, because there is elimination of the pocket, you understand. Now there is one more new term which is coming, which is the increase in the width of attached gingiva. Now if the width of attached gingiva, suppose this is the gingival margin, this one is the tooth surface, and then we have the marginal gingiva. After that we have the attached gingiva. If the attached gingiva is less, then we want to increase the attached gingiva. So we are taking the marginal gingiva and the sulcular gingiva and making it the attached gingiva. So like that we are taking some part of the marginal gingiva and making it the attached gingiva. And if we want to make the attached gingiva, then we are giving the split thickness flap, because this area is going to regrow and we are using this portion as and using it for the attached gingiva. So we have increase in the attached gingiva. This height we have got extra for the attached gingiva. So it serves as two purposes. One is the elimination of the pocket, and if we are giving this full thickness flap, then we are eliminating the pocket. And another one is increase in the width of the attached gingiva if we are making the partial thickness or the split thickness flap or the mucosal flap, then there is going to be a full thickness flap. They are going to be increase in the width of attached gingiva. So first of all, the first incision which was given for apically repositioned flap, which we have covered, is 0.5 to 1 millimeter away from the tooth surface, and then we give the releasing incision, vertical incision, then do the curettage, and the flap is back apically. So flap is sutured apically. So when do we use this apically repositioned flap? We use it to remove the pocket. We use it to increase the width of the attached gingiva. It is very important to have attached gingiva, because this is the area where we brush, where the brush rests while brushing. So it is like in reception area. So if you enter the clinic and if there is no reception, then there is going to be trouble, because you want some area, for waiting area. You don't want patient to directly come inside the clinic. So like that we need a reception area. So like that we want an attached gingiva. So this is very important, that the adequacy of attached gingiva should be there. And all of the surgical part, I have been telling you that if there is inadequacy of attached gingiva, then the surgical procedure is contraindicated. So all these times I have been telling you this, but now the procedure has come wherein we can increase the width of attached gingiva, where we can treat this option. So first we need to go for apical reposition flap, wherein we are going to increase the width of attached gingiva, and then we will go for the other surgical procedure which we want to proceed. But because we are shifting this flap apically, now wherein the tissues were here, now the tissues are going to be here. So there are high chances that there is going to be a recession, gingival recession. So in case of aesthetic region, we don't give this flap, we don't do this flap. In case there are high chances of caries, then also we don't do this flap. And in cases wherein there is a tooth mobility or where there is a severe attachment loss, then we don't do this flap. But a special part about this flap is it increases the width of attached gingiva. This is the only flap which does this miracle, which has this special power. So it also establishes a good morphology for facilitating a good oral hygiene for a patient. For example, if we want to convert the class 3 furcation to class 4 furcation in order for a cleanliness, in order to remove to get a good patient oral hygiene. So there is also post-surgical bone loss, which is the minimal in this case, and this ensures a healthy root surface, because for this biological width on the alveolar margin, and there is a lengthened clinical crown. So you see we get a long clinical crown. Earlier when we had this much of clinical crown, now we have this much of the clinical crown. So there is also increased in the clinical crown and a good gingival morphology, which facilitates the good oral hygiene, which is a big advantage for this apically repositioned flap surgical procedure. But always there comes disadvantages also, because we cannot use this flap in anesthetic region. in the aesthetic region basically, and because we are exposing little bit of root, so there are high chances that patient may complain of root sensitivity or hypersensitivity also when we are exposing the root surface. See, we are exposing the root surface, right? We are exposing the root surface, so there are high chances of root caries also. We are facilitating, we are exposing the patient to high caries risk, and we are possibly that we are exposing the furcation area also. See, in that case we are actually exposing the furcation area. So if you do the curettage, then you see then there is a furcation involvement. So we have exposed the furcation area also, if you can see, make out. So like that we can also expose the furcation area also. There is a possibility, and which may result in the post-operative supragingival and subgingival also plaque accumulation. So there comes also always some disadvantages. So this is about the apically repositioned flap or the apically positioned flap, which was used by Friedman first in 1962, and there are two main purposes of this flap. One is the elimination of the pocket, and another one is a special function of this flap. A special property of this flap is that it increases the width of attached gingiva, which no other flap can do this function. So there is also, we can increase in the attached gingiva with the help of this flap. So we are positioning this flap apically, which was the tooth structure, the positioning which was earlier like this. Now we are apically positioning this flap. So there is a apical positioning of the flap. So that's it for today's lecture, and I hope that you have learned something new today, or I have made it easier for you to understand the apical position flap and about all the incisions and all about all the procedure, all the flaps, other flaps. If you feel that you have learned something new today, then go ahead and hit the comment box and the like button. And also, if you enjoy watching our videos, please do share it with your friends so that the others can also learn, understand and enjoy the videos. And this is going to help me also, so something you can do for me as well. So this helped me to help you skyrocket your career and knowledge while you stay at home with your family.